Hey everybody, so a lot of people have been begging me to make an update video, and that's what I'm going to do. Right now I'm going to compile the latest information that we have on our do-it-yourself Susan Shore device users. Now, I want everybody to keep in mind that this is very individual, and there are certain types of tinnitus that the Susan Shore device would not work on, or not work on very well, and that is tinnitus that is mostly related to I guess, cochlear pathology, which is something like Meniere's disease or eustachian tube dysfunction, both of which put pressure on the cochlea, which is I guess, the main cause of the phantom perception or of tinnitus. So keep that in mind. This device does not work for absolutely every single type of tinnitus, but as I have described in my previous videos that I guess some of you haven't watched yet, somatic tinnitus is tinnitus that can be changed with any physical movements. So that means bending your neck or pressing on various parts of the head, etc., etc. Yeah, it does not necessarily have to be some kind of temporomandibular joint dysfunction or just, some kind of cervical issues. No, it does not necessarily have to be that. As I've mentioned before, most noise-induced tinnitus, especially, is somatic due to the intertwined nerve cells in the brainstem. If anybody is wondering what I'm talking about, you can watch my previous video on the topic where I give an in-depth description on how the device works and how the device's efficacy is higher for those with somatic tinnitus. And before anybody goes asking, would this device work for non-somatic tinnitus? And my answer is yes, it can, as tinnitus is tinnitus. Like Susan Shore said, the connections in the brain are the same. Just because somebody cannot modulate it as obviously as others does not mean the device will not work for them completely. My assumption is that it will work, just might have to use it a little bit longer than usual. Now, the first update comes from a guy who we're going to nickname Choco Boy. And he's the one who had full suppression of his tinnitus in the previous video. Now, unfortunately, his tinnitus came back, so silence is gone. And he describes it as returning post or after drinking coffee and eating chocolate. So he says that overall, his tinnitus, after starting using it, the Susan Shore device that he made, is quieter by 50%. Also, he says about his tones, is that his tones have become kind of muffled, I guess. He says that he can't describe it either as a ring or as a hiss. And I quote him, mild T state, like I hear it, but someone put it in a box, wrapped it in tissue, and stuck it in a drawer. That's how he describes his tonality right now. As I understand, let's see, he should be reaching the end of his 6 weeks treatment protocol pretty soon. So he's the only one who has actually gone through the treatment in its entirety. He says that the most recent update that he wrote is he continues to have periods of complete silence and periods of significantly subdued tinnitus. But let me keep in mind that he says that the loudness decrease overall from the start of the treatment is about 50%. He also mentions that he is not a super responder, which is true. His tinnitus is not very, very somatic like mine. So take that as you may. I still think these results are very good. Now, the second user, who is a user who has been using it not so long, has stated that the most noticeable difference is his reduced reactivity of his tinnitus. Now, there's not really much else to say, as I received these results, actually, I would say about a week ago, so we still have to wait for him to provide more updates. But he has said that after using it for a few days, he can notice some benefit. Now, he says also that he had a day where he had excellent suppression post usage of the device. But again, we have to wait a bit longer to have more consistent results. The next user has seen some results, not as good as before, but he still hasn't completely finished his treatment yet, which is the full 6 weeks. This update comes, I think, about a week after he started using the device. Now, he says here that his tone that has changed a lot, he says here in the past 16 months, has actually stopped changing as much as it used to post-treatment. Now, he says that this just could be a coincidence, and I agree, it could. But these results are not astronomically amazing or something like that. But he also says here that the previous night, his tinnitus was the calmest it has been in a long time before going to sleep. Now, these results are interesting, I guess. I suppose that a tone that has calmed down a little bit instead of constantly changing as it used to could be the result of using the device, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, let's get into the results that are not so great. There have been a few, I would say maybe 3 people who have completed a few weeks of sessions, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, and haven't seen many significant changes. Now, my opinion about DIY is that people have to be very careful when they go about it, because even one tiny little misconception or one tiny mistake can actually, render the device ineffective. And that's why I really wish there was a stricter environment for testing these, which, by the way, is something that my friends are working on at the moment for receiving more consistent results. There's also the chance that some of the people who didn't see any significant effect just were not super responders, or they just were not responders at all. That's absolutely possible. As I've mentioned before, this device is not an instant cure for absolutely everybody. People have to keep in mind and be realistic that not everybody is a super responder. Not everybody is going to get immediate tinnitus suppression like me and some others. So keep that in mind. So, overall, what can be said? Does the device work? Yes, it does. As I and others have shown, it does suppress tinnitus for some people. What about the guys who haven't seen consistent results yet? Well, I would say that we have to wait until the treatment period is completely over. But we've had a couple of people abandon the treatment at the very beginning due to a lack of intense results, which I think is not the right thing to do. We should keep our expectations in check. As I've said before, this is not an immediate cure for everybody. And as I've also said, my friends are working on a more controlled environment of testing the device. And I can also say that I'm also working on a little side project to test the device's efficacy in a controlled and stable environment without the radical irregularities that can be seen in DIY versions. So we're just going to continue collecting results, and I will continue updating you guys on the effects and the efficacy of the device. And in the meantime, you guys can, if you want, you can join my Discord server for discussing tinnitus and hyperacusis and noxiacusis and every other conditions out there, and see if you can find some useful information for yourselves there. All right, that's all for today. And if this video wasn't what you're expecting, well, I'm sorry. But that's how it is with these types of projects, you know? There's always some roadblocks. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later. Bye. Peace.